Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's session on creating conscious balance in life and work. My name is Jessica Malach, and I'm with Social Nature. And I'm very excited that we all have the opportunity to connect today on such an important topic. So, what we're going to be doing today is I'm going to be offering a couple of different practices and exercises that you can learn and then decide if you want to take them away and practice them in your life. And what I thought we would do before we get into the exercises is start this session off with a short guided meditation, if that's comfortable for you. If not, that's okay. It's totally optional, and everything that we do in this session is, of course, completely up to you. So if you are going to be joining us for this meditation, you're welcome to stay seated in a comfortable upright position, or if you want to join me in a short standing meditation, you can do that too. So I'll give you the moment to just decide what's best for you. And if you are going to come into the standing posture, then we're just going to be coming into mountain pose, which is with our feet hip width apart, our knees are slightly bent, our knees will be stacking over our ankles, our hips are over our knees, and then our back is nice and upright but not tensed. Our arms are just resting by the sides, and our head is just gently balanced on the neck. And if it's available to you and comfortable, you're welcome to close your eyes, or if not, just a soft gaze ahead. Let's begin. So just coming into the present moment with a gentle cleansing breath. Letting go of what came before this moment and what may be coming after this moment. And just taking a moment to settle into the body. And just noticing the sensation of the breath as it moves in and out of the body. Wherever the sensation of breathing is most clear. For some, that could be in the nostrils as the breath comes in and out. For others, the chest as it rises and falls. Or perhaps the belly as it rises and falls. Or even a sense of the whole body breathing. Now calling to mind the image of a mountain. And taking a moment to contemplate mountain presence. And how mountains have a sense of stillness despite all of the activity that's on the mountain and around the mountain. When we think about mountains, we might think about gentle flowing streams or rushing rivers. We might think about trees and animals living on the mountain and flowers and plants. Maybe there's hikers that are striving to climb to the top of the mountain, and the mountain might go through lots of changes. Perhaps it goes through harsh winters with lots of snow and even some ice or storms. Perhaps it has really extreme heat sometimes in the summer. Maybe sometimes there's really loud jets flying by this mountain or squawking birds, yet the mountain remains still. So now, if it feels comfortable, contemplating on bringing the presence of mountain into your life. How might the awareness expand in day-to-day life to incorporate presence and stillness of mountain? next exhalation, letting go of the mountain image. And coming to the end of this practice, and just taking a moment to thank yourself for taking the time to practice being and connect with yourself in this way. Now opening your eyes if they were closed, and perhaps looking around the room and just getting oriented back into the space. And just want to invite you to reflect on for a second what you might have noticed in that practice. What sensations did you notice in the body? Were there any changes in the sensations as connecting to the breath? And how might that attention be different than how we might normally attend? And what we're practicing there, right, is the opportunity to connect with ourselves in the present moment, which is a form of mindfulness practice and can be thought of as making time for being in addition to all of the doing we do in our life, right? So oftentimes when we talk about balance, we might talk about the external. How am I paying, what am I doing in my life? Is it balanced? Am I spending enough time on the right things? And that's certainly important. However, what if I'm spending equal time in all areas of my life, but I still don't feel good? Would that be balance? Probably not. So we often define balance in terms of how we feel. How do we feel? Does it feel good to us? The body has a lot of knowledge, and it can often give us clues as to if something is balanced or unbalanced. And it can be a good opportunity to reflect on what your current state is by connecting to that present moment. And the other thing that can be useful when we think about balance is to think about things like alignment, right? Are we giving enough energy to the things that really matter? Are we having a sense of satisfaction? What are our drivers of satisfaction, and how can we cultivate greater satisfaction by perhaps understanding what brings us satisfaction? I know myself, a couple of years ago, I was feeling actually quite stuck. And I was like, man, there's so many things I want to do, but I don't feel like I have the time to do any of this, and I'm just feeling stuck. And so I went to Trout Lake, which is a cute little neighborhood park and has a cute little lake, and I decided to write down what drives satisfaction for me now, because I thought by connecting to the now and having gratitude now, I might be able to free up energy to expand my awareness, right, and expand possibility. So I realized that there were 4 key areas of satisfaction in my life. Number 1 was freedom. How can I structure my life and work in a way that has flexibility was one of them. The other was self-expression. I love dance, I love education. How can I continue to do more of that? The other one was impact, and then the final one was nourishing connection. And what I realized in this practice was that I was doing a lot of things already that cultivated satisfaction, but I was so stuck in future thinking that I actually wasn't even being grateful for where I was. So that was an interesting insight and how connecting to presence can support greater balance and appreciation. And then from that place of embodiment, I was able to define a couple of key things in each area that I would do towards my bigger vision and purpose. So purpose is the other piece, right, that can help us to feel more connected and to cultivate resilience, actually. So when we're connected, to our why, there's been a lot of books on how having a why helps us to unlock more energy, more vitality, more motivation. It can also support us to overcome adversity, right? We know that life is not perfect. Life is always changing, and it's always going to be throwing something at us. to maybe knock us off our balance. And so by connecting with this purpose, it helps us to have that resilience to withstand stress or withstand challenges, and also to perhaps redefine how we even look at challenge. So if we think about resilience, a couple things can come to mind in that, and I'm just going to use a storm as an example. So looking to nature as a source of guidance can be helpful. So have you ever seen storms and trees in a storm? What do? They go with the wind, right? They move as best they can, and they stay with the wind. They don't resist the wind, because if that happens, what's gonna go on? They're gonna break, right? So there's something about releasing resistance which can build resilience to handle storms in life. And so when we use that and we connect to purpose, now we have alignment, and now we can move towards balance. So let's do a short exercise now that's going to invite a couple of tools on defining purpose. And so I'm just going to write down the exercise for us. And basically what you can do while I do that is just think about, could be a simple goal. This doesn't have to be like your entire life purpose, in a couple of minutes here. Start with something simple that comes to mind right away. So what you're gonna do, so get your notebook and your pen, and what you're first gonna do is just write down your goal. Could be anything. I wanna start a new company, I wanna go to school, I wanna try plant-based diet, doesn't matter. Whatever comes to mind first. The next thing you're gonna do is ask, not mind my writing, is ask why. Why do I want to do this? So think about that now and answer the goal again in terms of why. So I'll let you do that. And what you're going to have is a sentence like this. So I want to insert your goal, so that impact. And ask yourself why again. So the exercise is really simple. So you can continue to ask the why question and continuing to challenge the impact statement until you get to a place where you feel totally congruent. Like I've asked why a few times now with my impact statement, and this is it. And so that statement is your ultimate why. That's going to be your ultimate, gosh, this rain is really bad, your ultimate driver, okay? And so when you go into any times of challenge, you can always come back to that why, and that's going to be your grounding place, and that's going to be your place of inspiration. So now, let's think about how we might apply this to all of our areas of life. So this is the wheel of life, and this is a simple assessment tool that a lot of people, life coaches use and things like that with clients to get a sense of like where the client's level of satisfaction is, and where they want to focus on, so that coaching can happen to unlock any challenges and give clarity of vision. So one of the things that can be interesting when we think about cultivating balance is to think about, well, where do I want to focus, right? So what you can do now is you can just draw what areas of your life you would maybe want to focus on in this wheel. So this example has a few different areas. It has career, it has family and friends, it's got the romance side, personal development could be another area, fun and recreation. There's also community environment, and there's also wealth, finances, and of course health. So there's lots of different areas that we could focus on. And I think one of the myths actually in a balanced life is thinking that we're going to be doing all of this all the same time at 100% effort. That just might not be realistic for a lot of people. Why? Because perhaps certain areas have a bigger why for them, right? So if I'm like an entrepreneur just starting up my company, right, then perhaps the career side is bigger for me. Whereas maybe I'm a new mom, right? Maybe family, friends, and health, maybe self-care is much bigger part of my wheel. So I think the most important thing to do when we look at this is actually step back and go, what areas do I want to bring greatest attention to? And define it in terms of what you want, because this is your wheel of life, and then you define it on your terms. And if one of these areas is just not as important to you right now, that's okay. That's totally, completely fine. I think a lot of people put too much pressure on themselves to think they need to do everything at the same time. And that's where burnout happens, or people are critical of themselves. And I think that there's something really important about actually being clear with yourself and letting go of this perfectionist stuff and deciding where you want to focus. So one of the things that I found helpful in this is it's going to sound funny, but I like to run my life a little bit how I run a company. So what I like to do is I like to think in terms of like quarterly plans or quarterly focus areas. So every 3 months, or maybe every 3 to 6 months, I step back and I look at this and I intentionally decide which areas I'm going to focus on. And then I run through a process of setting some clear, simple goals that we're going to do a little bit later on areas that I want to focus. And from there, I feel really good because I'm consciously focusing where I want, and I'm also looking and reflecting on what my focus is so that I can always come back to it. And that focus is connected to my why, right? So this is how I cultivate a balanced life. The other thing I'm going to share for your consideration is this fun rule. It's called the 70% effort. This is I've never had this rule before. I love this rule. So I learned this from a guy named Mike Chang, which is a pretty well-known fitness trainer, and his whole thing is when it comes to working out, that it's better just to do 70% effort. Why? So that you don't get hurt, so you don't train too hard, so you don't burn out, and so you stay consistent. So the driver of any success is consistency. That's how amazing things happen, right? We've all heard the saying of Rome wasn't built in a day, and it wasn't. It's built through small, consistent steps. So whatever plan we have, what are we doing to just make it sustainable? That's the biggest lesson I've learned over the last probably 10 years, and it's so helpful. And this is related to principles of self-compassion. In the field of research right now in mindfulness, self-compassion, loving ourselves, giving ourselves a break, soothing ourselves during moments of suffering has been shown to reduce stress significantly, has been shown to support people to recover from depression, from anxiety, and there's lots of short meditation practices that we can do around this notion of self-compassion. And the idea of 70% effort is also kind of meeting that because it's realistic. So I want you to consider this for a second, and then we're going to move into a discussion around holistic health and a model that can be supportive to powering the wheel of life. Maybe just reflect on what I've said there and maybe pick a couple areas that you think you want to start to focus on. in a health show, right? So anything we do, in anything in life, we must have health as a foundation, right? So this is what I'm describing as a holistic health model. So the model incorporates mental health, it incorporates emotional health, it incorporates physical health, and also environmental health. And when we think about environmental health, that could mean the natural environment, that could mean community that we're in, as well as social, because we're not, operating in isolation, although we may have felt like it with COVID. We are not operating in isolation. We are, in fact, interacting with our environment. It impacts us, and we impact it in our exchanges, right? Everything is connected. And so one of the things that we do here and at Social Nature, actually, we have a community of over 600,000 consumers, and we've been doing a lot of dialogue with them and asking them about their health goals. And these are some of the top goals that they have. It's all around holistic health. People now are looking for ways to support more in mental and emotional health. They're looking for ways to support better for you companies, companies that share their values, companies that are more sustainable and environmentally conscious, that have good labor practices, that are inclusive. And so that is I just want to let you know about Social Nature. That is the mission of the company. So the company is looking for ways to keep supporting better for you brands to grow. So I do encourage you guys, if you're interested in that and being part of a community that shares these types of values, you can go to socialnature.com and you can sign up for free, and you'll see tons of cool startup companies there that you can kind of upvote and support. And once in a while, we also have amazing free product samples that you can try that can support making better for you choices around this whole holistic health goal. So when we're thinking about the structure for our life, then it can be useful to kind of start and think about it one thing at a time. So maybe having an opportunity to reflect on how am I feeling in these areas? Are there any things that I want to maybe focus on, or resources I want to seek to support me on feeling better or on optimizing my health? In a recent survey that we did, over 83% of consumers, of people like you and me, have said that for the first time, people they're being more proactive. We're all taking our health more into consideration. And so there's lots of resources around. And it's also important to acknowledge that many people have been suffering too. So if you are struggling, if you've had challenges with mental, emotional health, know that you're not alone. If you've been struggling with physical health or fitness or ways to get back into things, you're not alone. And it all starts with small steps and with daily habits. And this show is an amazing place to be, because here you are, you're here. And there's lots of health experts on this show, from naturopathic doctors, nutritionists, trainers that can support you in that quest for balance. So I wanted to bring this up as Social Nature as a resource, as well as for you just to take a moment to reflect on some of these areas. And how we can apply this model is something that we can do in 3 simple steps every single day. So we're going to talk about that right now. I'm just going to draw it out for us. In fact, I'll use this sign. There's wheels is a lot to erase. Okay. So the model that we're going to talk about now, if you haven't noticed, I love models, is really simple. And it comes from the world of sport. So, in every type of athlete's competition or training, there's 3 stages. Prepare is one of them. Sustain. How do I sustain energy during training? And how do I recover? And I actually used to work at Vega, and their Vega Sport line has products for all of these, which is kind of cool. So what I want to invite you to consider right now, and I know that we're getting short on time here, so just write these 3 stages down, is what can I do on a daily basis to get started for my day. What's one or two simple things I can do to prepare, and pick something simple. For me, I always start with a morning short workout, nothing too crazy, right? 70% effort. And then I do a short guided meditation, and I eat a proper breakfast, and I do it mindfully. I don't look at my phone or any of that until I'm ready to start work. And I find that helps me feel centered and ready to be, to take on the day. The other thing to consider is sustaining yourself throughout the day. So what does that mean for you? For me, it means staying hydrated, so always having water or a nice hydrating beverage nearby. And it also means taking short mini micro breaks. So I have on average 25 to 30 hours of Zoom calls a week, which is quite demanding. And so what I try to do is do short little breathing spaces between the meetings to support my parasympathetic nervous system and keeping myself balanced throughout the day. And then the final stage is recovery. And recovery need not be a vacation once a year. In fact, it's really important to try to build this in to our day, every single day. So one of the best ways to think about that could be around sleep preparation. So a lot of us might be, on our phones at night or watching movies or TV or, putting the kids to bed, and then we kind of try to go to bed, but we didn't actually prepare. So sleep preparation can be a really great way to support recovery. And that typically means turning off computers and screens and stuff 30 minutes before bed. It could mean doing some light stretching exercises and perhaps a short, even just 5 minute of breathing to support going to bed. It can be really good. So that's one thing I invite you to consider, and identify those things now and start this week. Just pick something simple or pick one stage. If you're not doing this type of thing already, let's not get overwhelmed. Pick one stage that works for you. So I'm now going to recap this entire model on one page, and we're going to come to a closing here. So what have we learned today? So I'll just give you a second if to write this down. This part should be okay, right? Wish we were together in a room. I can't see you guys. Anyway, okay. So this is the stages of how we can define a support balance. So what we've learned is that the basics start with our healthy daily habits. That's the prepare, sustain, recovery, right? The second piece is that this will support that holistic health model that we've discussed. Having that integration is really important. Why? Because that's what's going to power the wheel of life. That will be the fuel, right? And that will be in service to the why. So it's all connected. So this is the pathway to building balance. So I hope that this was a helpful session to you. I would love to hear any feedback that you want to share on future topics that we can cover, and invite you to come join us on socialnature.com. And thank you so much for joining us, me, today here from my living room in Vancouver, BC. May you be well.